All right, we're going to deep dive on this, folks. 5 reasons why you will financially benefit from blockchain. You're going to want to listen to this one for sure. This is going to change your world. Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music industry. Leverage is what it's going to take. It's not about your talent, your potential. It's about what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? And that's what's going to get you the management deal. That's what's going to get you the record deal. That's what's going to get you the publishing deal. That's what's going to get you the tour support and the booking agent. And everything that you need is going to come to you when you can prove that what you're doing has value and you have traffic. It's all about traffic. So why we called it the C.L.I.M.B. C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's right. That's genius. That's a Baxter. It's from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter, who's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. Got a couple number ones last year, so he's killing it. It's shaping up to be even a better year this year, I think, as we move up that ladder.
We're trying.
What I love about Brent is that he has he's going to teach songwriters like you how to be pro by revealing how to write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then on the regular, he's giving you opportunities to connect with the pros, get in the game, get on that first rung of the ladder, and climb your way up. You can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Yeah, it's complicated, but thankfully, Johnny's smart. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production, singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
What's happening, brother?
Man, I'm just looking forward to taking some more coffee and learning about all this blockchain stuff. So I feel like I should be caffeinated. But I'm good, man.
Dude, my nipples are hard.
Recorded, we just had Easter.
You're not even going to need caffeine. You're not even going to need it. My nipples are hard. Like,
you're going to break it down?
I'm gonna break it down and get you so excited. It's so excited. This is so sweet. It's going to give you cavities. This information is going to up your dental bill, but the difference is you're going to be able to afford it. So, but listen, before we get into that, let's take care of a little business here. As always, we are super proud to be a part of American Songwriter Magazine's podcast network, ASPN. And if you are a climber, you've been a climber for a long time. But by the way, we just had our 5-year anniversary a couple weeks ago. We forgot to mention that, I think.
Yeah.
So we've been doing this for 5 years. But so congratulations, my brother.
You too. Thank you.
And if you're one of the loyal climbers that have been following us, go check out some of these other shows on the podcast network. They're killer. There's lots of good information on there. And if you came to us through the podcast network and discovered us there, well, welcome to the C.L.I.M.B.
That's right.
All right. So join the C.L.I.M.B. community. We have a thriving Facebook community. Just search for the C.L.I.M.B. community on Facebook. Ask to be let in. We let everybody in, but you do have to ask. And you've got to play by the rules. There's not that many of them. I mean, it's rock and roll, baby, but you got to play by the rules or we're going to oust you, okay? But This is a lot of writers getting together with co-writes, a lot of people talking about their wins. This is a peer group for you. This is not a consumer group for you. These people aren't going to buy your CDs or probably go to your show and travel to do it, but they are interested in how you're getting people to buy your CDs and how you're getting people to go to your show and how you're writing songs and who you're writing with and where you're recording it and all that. And so that's the kind of group. This is the movers and the shakers and the beautiful people of the new music industry here. And we are the proud curators of this community. We want you to join. So come and check it out. And we got some good wins, buddy.
We do have some wins. I'm just looking those up. So I'm going to share a couple of them with you.
So explain what the wins are real quick. Yeah.
So every Wednesday we have the New Heights post. We post that, and then we encourage you to, as a comment under there, so we all know where to find them. That's where the party is. as a comment, you leave one of your music related wins for the week. And so we can celebrate and congratulate and all that good stuff. I'm trying to think of another gate word. Instigate. No, we don't want to instigate. You instigate, we'll celebrate, participate, all that good stuff. But yeah,
There you
so
go.
every week. So it's just a little shot in the arm. So Will and Darlene Gunnell, who actually just did the last, sent in the last song title challenge, I believe. So he said, check
Right.
my BMI account and found I made a whopping $2.41. Can't complain. That's the first time I received royalties from him. Just need to move the decimal to the right about 3 or 4 places. So, Will, man.
I saw that. I commented on that.
Yeah, I do too. So, Will, I'm glad you posted that because that is a win. I mean, that first check from a PRO, that means something. He felt good enough about it to post it. I think you should too if you get one of those checks. That's a win, man. That's like 0 to something.
$2.41 of mailbox money. That's $2.41 of mailbox money that you didn't have the day before you got that check.
I mean, that step from 0 to something is huge in the music business.
The comment I made was like you can move the decimal over one at a time, right? So if $2.41, if you did that, you can easily now do $20.41, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all of a sudden that's doable now, right? Like you just prove to yourself that you can go make something, do something with it, put it up somewhere, and then magically money comes back. And it goes into your mailbox, and it comes in a check that you can cash, and you can buy a couple packs of bubble gum with that $2.41. But still, it works. The system works. So now you're like, okay, the system works. Now what can I do to jack this up? And if you can do $20.41, you can do $200.41. If you can do $200.41, you can do $2,000.41, and just keep moving that decimal over. Just make that the next goal. Just move that decimal one more over to the right.
One spot.
One more. It's just a step to the right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So congrats, you guys. I love that.
Yeah. I'll go share one more with you. Michael Roth says, I just learned that The Runs of Our Age, that's a song title, The Runs of Our Age, is in the top 5 lyric winners of the Great American Song Contest. Right now, it's only available pre-release on his website below, and he has the link. Special shout out to my friend Susan Rowe, who's a top 5 winner in the singer-songwriter category. So Michael Roth, congratulations, top 5 lyric winner on the Great American Song Contest. So he is no newbie to winning some of that stuff. I think he had something win the NSAI lyric contest, won his lyrics before. So he's just solid. He's a member of the Songwriting Pro membership community as well. So I get to hang out with him on jam sessions. He's just a good dude living out west. So living his West life.
He knows how to make the donuts.
There you go. Get it done.
There you go. West life, best life.
Yep.
That's a T-shirt right there. West life, best life.
There you go. Yep.
That just happened. You're welcome, Michael Roth.
There you go. Yeah.
So subscribe to the podcast wherever you consume your podcasts. Make sure you leave a rating and review. And finally, listen, Brent and I we don't take the time that you spent with us lightly at all. We're very grateful. We completely understand how valuable your time is, and the fact that you spend, let's just say a pretty solid average of 45 minutes a week with us on the main episodes is a big deal to us. But you don't do it because you're on a Outreach for Johnny and Brent program and you feel and you want us to feel good about ourselves. You do it because we're adding some kind of value, and therefore tell a friend about it. We want, if it comes from you, man, these people are going to be like, okay, even if it's one episode, just listen, you get them on one episode, we'll take care of the rest. We always do.
You just bring them down.
You just get them one hit. Give them that first hit for free, and Brent, I'll take care of everything else. But all right, so let's get into this. Are you ready to get schooled, man?
I'm ready to get schooled. Expand my brain.
I'm gonna expand your brain. So, first of all, let's just talk about just really quick. Let's talk about blockchain is the platform from which lots of different things are built off of, right? Blockchain is very essentially a transparent server chain of servers. Okay. And so when you put something on there, there's a code that's put on it. It's there. When that server fills up or that little block of data fills up, it gets sealed off. It can't be touched. And another block goes on top of it. Another block goes on top of it. And if you think about like Legos, you can't screw with it. You can't alter it. You can't copy it. You can't. It has done what hasn't been able to really been accomplished before in the digital world, which is create scarcity. Okay. Now I feel like that is quite nebulous to a lot of people,
Right.
and what this means. So this is what we're going to deep dive in today. But first of all, so if you heard of Bitcoin, Bitcoin is a monetary token, a monetary coin, what they call a stable coin that's on the blockchain platform. There's also Ethereum. There's also Flow. There's different kind of coins, different monetary systems that are on there, okay, and that exist on there, along with NFTs, for instance, non-fungible tokens. We'll talk about that in a second. But don't underestimate the value of these little community monetary systems. If you remember a number of episodes ago, Brent and I were freaking out about the Marshmallow concert that was held, a live concert that was held, and 10 million people attended the concert on the Fortnite gaming platform, which is a digital platform. So 10 million people watched a live show on the digital platform, which was just unfreaking believable. But what made it more unbelievable was when I found out they were selling merch. Digital merch. And I remember telling my sister this, and my, at the time, 11-year-old nephew was like, yeah, man, I watched that concert. I love Marshmallow. I'm like, you're kidding me. He's like, no. And he goes, yeah, I bought the skin. And he's telling me this in front of mom and dad, right? I'm like, you bought the skin. What does that mean? He goes, yeah, I paid for it. It's like 5,000 Fortnite bucks. And I looked at my sister, just with sort of a frowny face, like, what the hell does that mean? And she's like, hold on a second. And her eyes roll up to the side of the head where you're thinking, and she's like, okay, that's like 20 bucks. And then of course the father, Charlie, his dad was like, wait, what? And then what? Jen, my sister's like, it was his money. It was all his money. It was okay. Like, he's like, so that whole thing went down, and it was like a real thing. But so even there in gaming communities, they have monetary systems, right?
Right.
So let's talk about, right. So let's just start with this. Let's talk about fungible.
Yeah.
Here's the definition of fungible. Okay, fungible of goods contracted for without an individual specimen being specified, able to replace or be replaced by another identical item, mutually interchangeable. Okay, so the best example that I can think of from that definition of fungible is a dollar.
Yeah. That's something I've heard for years. Is money is fungible. It's a dollar in your bank account is indistinguishable from any other dollar in your bank account. They're all just dollars.
Yeah, it's indistinguishable from the cash dollar in my pocket.
Yeah. So it's like,
and so you can exchange $1 for another dollar.
Exactly.
But when it's fungible, you have no record for when that dollar was created, who was first to own it, and therefore no transactional history of that exact dollar. All you know is that it's definitely got some cocaine residue on it, right? That's fungible, okay? Now, non-fungible tokens and blockchain bring scarcity and provenance into the digital realm. Scarcity, for all intents and purposes, didn't exist prior to blockchain.
Okay, so it's more like a car title.
Yeah.
It's more like a car title. Every time you buy or sell a car, there's a new signature goes on the title, right?
Oh, you're going down the road I'm about to go down right now to explain this even further. Okay. You're right on it, man.
I'm just trying to find ways to wrap this around so my little bitty brain can wrap around it.
Yep. No, I got it. And you're going right down there. So let's just talk about non-scarcity for a second. Think of Napster. And all the damage that created, right? Where they're just going to copy this digital file and share it for free.
Yep.
Right? No value. Everybody can do it. Think of something as stupidly simple as Microsoft Word, where you can cut and paste anything. Right? Yeah. So non-fungible means the token is one of a kind. Blockchain is completely transparent so that each one-of-a-kind token has a transparent transactional history. So you know what? Rather than if we equate like the one-of-a-kind thing to on the surface to art, like fine art, like the Mona Lisa, which we've talked about before, right? There's only one, and scarcity makes it valuable, right?
Mhm.
But it's also, most people don't know this, but half the damn paintings you look at when you go to fine art museums aren't the real paintings.
Mm-hmm.
They're knockoffs. They
That's what
put
I
them
learned
up.
on Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 3 on Friday night. They mentioned
Yeah,
that.
there you go. I mean, they put those up there. Why? Because they don't want the real paintings to be damaged. Because there's only one, which is weird. But I mean, aside from that, that's still hard for us normal folk to get our heads around.
Mm.
So let's talk about what I think a lot of people in terms of transactional history, and let's do better than a car.
Mm.
Because the importance of a piece of fine art doesn't necessarily resonate with most people beyond the scarcity of the actual painting. Let's talk about buying a house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think of two different things with regards to the transactional history of any piece of property. Every home purchase requires title insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most people gloss over title insurance as a necessary step to the purchase process because it is, right? But very few understand why it's necessary, right? Title insurance buys you insurance on the accuracy of the transactional history of the property that you're purchasing. Okay.
That
So
the person
essentially,
selling me the house really has the house and is able to sell it.
right. And that there wasn't, well, let me go further.
And
So
that it's
essentially,
free,
like,
clear to be sold. Right.
exactly. And with every home and or property that's purchased, you're trusting that every deed, aka every transaction ever recorded on that particular piece of property for as long as they've been buying and selling property, was accurately recorded, accurately filed after it was recorded, and never compromised in a fire, flood, tornado, earthquake, hurricane, stolen, blah, 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 blah. So what happens if it's not accurate? Guys, like if you go down this rabbit hole, it'll freak the crap out of you. But there are literally thousands of horror stories. One day you're eating dinner with your family at a home you purchased years ago, and some dude knocks on the door with a fistful of documents and the local sheriff behind him telling me you got to vacate his property because you're trespassing.
Because his family bought that house in 1920 and it's
Yeah.
been sold 5 times since then, but that sale never properly went through away from his family. It's his family's property. You're squatting.
Exactly. Or somebody made a mistake, a clerical error, or my father we've determined now after, 85 years of lawsuits that my father wasn't in the right mind to sell that property. And so therefore that transaction wasn't blah, blah, blah. And bottom line, get the hell out of my house, So title insurance insures you against a crazy situation, and it will provide a remedy for either returning the money that you paid for the property that you have to vacate or compensating the dude who knocked on the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I think about is provenance, AKA the chain of ownership. Now, this can add a social value of sorts to the property. I'll give you a prime example here. My buddy Dave Fowler is the musical director for Billy Bob Thornton's band.
Cool.
The famous actor. And when Billy was married to Angelina Jolie, they purchased a home formerly owned by the famous Hollywood film director C.L.I.M.B. Cecil directed the first film ever shot in Hollywood in 1915, and that launched what would become Paramount Studios. He directed the very first film ever shot in Hollywood. So essentially, Hollywood exists in Hollywood because of him, right?
Wow.
And he was really huge. He was best known for his epic religious movies. So this is kind of appropriate the day after Easter here.
Yeah.
But I mean, he directed the Ten Commandments, Cleopatra, Samson and Delilah. And this has a cool factor in the chain of ownership, right? Mm-hmm. This may not matter to you, Climber, but it matters to a lot of people, right? Remember the Seinfeld episode? Tell me yours.
Okay, so I'm a fraternity guy. I'm a member of Tau Kappa Epsilon, TKE fraternity. So back at Arkansas State, Beta Psi chapter, I was a member there. And when you join, you go through the whole ceremony. You sign a membership scroll. Has every member's name on. It's a series of scroll. Otherwise, it'd be a really long scroll. but you have a scroll number, and every member of Beta Psi chapter, Tau Kappa Epsilon fraternity, has their name on that scroll. I'm Beta Psi scroll number 1218. So I was a 1,218th man to sign as a Beta Psi member. At 318 is a dude named Aaron Elvis Presley.
Oh, hello.
And yeah, so he was initiated as an honorary teak back in the 60s. Went to Graceland, they did the whole thing, and he's on there and stuff. And anyway, when I got to, we got to look through some old scrolls, long story, but when you open it up and you see 318 and you see Elvis Aaron Presley, you're like, holy crap. And my name is like, 900 later, but on this same thing. It's like, that is freaking cool. And of course, you got all the other stuff of, fraternity and that whole kind of bond thing too, but just going, wow, he held this piece of paper and signed it and went through the same ceremony I did and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my story of, having that.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think about,
but of going, wow, we all signed on to this thing together,
Yeah, dude, you're in the presence of greatness, right? Like it's super cool. That scroll has some energy to it. That's just fascinating, So this is why NFTs are so interesting all of a sudden here. NFTs, non-fungible tokens, are a part of blockchain. And I want to tell everybody this, like I'm going to give you a forewarning here. NFTs right now are in a big, big bubble. Okay. Mm-hmm. So they're the new shiny object that everybody wants, and the bubble's going to burst very shortly, like in a matter of months, if not a matter of weeks. And the more I read, the more I really truly believe that they're going to be around for a while. So get ready for some bad press. Okay. Get ready for some people saying, oh, I lost my butt on NFTs, because a lot of people are going to lose their butts on NFTs. But it's just like a housing market in any given community. When I was in the mortgage industry in 2000s, and I had a couple clients that I remember in particular. One dude was a ticket clerk for Southwest out of McCarran Airport and made $28,000 a year, and another guy was a pastor at a church in Central California. I think he made like about 45 grand a year, but each one of them had about $6 million in frickin' properties because they were allowed to purchase them. You know what I mean? And it was a bubble, and they were speculating, right? So housing markets go up, they come down, they go up. But over time, what makes the housing market valuable is that you can't make any more land.
Right. Land. It's one thing they're not making more of.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you're going to hear some bad press, but don't let this dissuade you from the platform. Okay. So, just like the housing markets in any given community, the NFT market is going to fluctuate in the short term, but I believe over time, like over the next 30 years, it's going to increase. Just
like Beanie Babies, right? That was a hot thing, back in the 90s, early 90s, yeah. Everybody was buying Beanie Babies, and now they just aren't worth flip anymore. But
right, it was a fad.
It was a fad, but collectibles are still a good investment. Maybe just not Beanie Babies. So NFTs, there's going to be a bubble at first. It's just like, well, it's those things. But the platform, the thought of non-fungible tokens, this scarcity of digital items is still valid. Maybe just not this.
Listen, you could make right? Here's the difference with collectibles. It's the platform, right? So this is the Beanie Babies were like a fad, right? And it's like the pet rock. That was a fad. It was this little fad that happened. Everybody had to have one. Elmo doll that one year. Everybody went crazy. And then it went away, right? But the difference in this is that even if NFTs are a fad, let's say NFTs go away, man, blockchain, the platform that it's on is here to stay. So don't be... That you bring up a really good point, which is don't be naive to the subject matter and conflate the NFT or Bitcoin or Ethereum markets with the blockchain technological paradigm shift. Okay, focus on the platform. There are going to be winners and losers all along the way, much like there was during the .com boom. Okay, now some climbers here, we got some young ones. Maybe were born in 2001, but in 2001. there were so many publicly traded companies that were way overpriced because of the intoxication of the dot-com bubble. So savvy investors, people who knew what they were doing, were happily paying $400 a share for a share of stock in a company that had yet to make $1 of revenue, let alone $1 of profit. And revenue, profit being two completely different things. They hadn't made any of those. It was just an idea. Hey, we're going to deliver groceries to everybody. Nobody's ever going to have to go to the grocery store again.
But we got a website.
And we got a freaking website and some VC money because they believe it too. And so you should too. And then guess what? The reality of the situation fell out. And there was the stock market basically, I think, got cut in half. Right. And crashed because this was speculation. They were speculating instead of homes. Now they're speculating on ideas of stock as opposed to a savvy investor investing in, let's say, General Electric and looking at a prospectus. And here's how long the company's been in business. Here, how much revenue they have. Here's the overhead. Here's the debt. Here's, boom, boom, boom. It's all there. It's very, very clear. And then you make a savvy decision that none of this existed for like 98% of these dot-com companies, So we had a huge crash in the tech market because savvy investors, along with ignorant newbies, were all speculating on the value of a company that received a bunch of venture capital money, and it was a gold rush, essentially. That's what's happening right now with NFTs. So make sure you separate that event from the reality, because after the crash, or the dot-com crash, how many people do you think bailed on the concept of the internet and dot-com companies? Because they got burned.
Right.
A lot of them, right? But if you purchased like Apple or Amazon stock during this crash when it was like super low, you'd be loving life today, baby, because look at what's going on now, because the two things were true at the same time. Yes, these were great ideas and most of them failed. But the ones that didn't, the platform was still there and they're thriving, okay? So focus on the platform. I encourage everybody here to deep dive on blockchain on YouTube. There's tons of videos that you can watch that from the, 45 minutes, I'm going to teach you what blockchain does, to deeper interviews and stuff. But get into this because I want you to get into this, and I want you to let your creative mind wander freely as to how many different ways this tech will benefit you as an artist, as a songwriter, etc. Okay. Brent, do you remember when I said that there was no reason why 20 million artists can't have 20 million projects on 20 million different servers and keep track of every single transaction and get paid for every single stream and get paid for all the traffic they create?
I do. I think it was just a couple episodes ago.
It was. And then I was reiterating the fact that we kind of talked about that on a much vaguer level, but I was orbiting around that planet like 2 years ago. Well, guess what? The platform, and I'm not talking about blockchain now, I'm talking about actual audio and video platform, already here. The video and audio platforms are already here. Now, once again, I'm going to tell you about these two platforms, okay? These are brand names, and it's probably likely that they're going to screw it up. If we think about streaming, right? And think about, what was the first streaming service? Was it Pandora or was it Rhapsody?
One of the two.
I don't know. Rhapsody kind of fell by the wayside. Pandora is still around, you know what I mean? But it was, man, they were way, way ahead of the game. And it took like a number of different iterations of streaming services before Spotify nailed it, right? And Spotify nailed it and then figured out how to make it ubiquitous enough that the market would adopt it, because it doesn't matter that you're right. We still have to believe it, right?
Yep.
And we still have to buy into it. And then now we have, Amazon and Apple and all these other streaming platforms, and they're all doing the same thing, right? So I just want you to pay attention to it, okay? Get on the platform, don't get on the platform. It's up to you. But because one of these two may fail and probably will fail does not mean that the third or fourth iteration that comes after that isn't going to finally nail it. And we're going to finally get there, but it has to be refined, right? They're all going to go forth and make mistakes and break stuff. And
I was a member of Friendster for like, a couple months. Friendster was I think right around the time of MySpace. And where's Friendster now? No idea. But you know what? it didn't last, but hey, Facebook is still around.
Yeah. And guess what? Don't think that Zuckerberg wasn't acutely aware of everything that Friendster did and everything that MySpace did, and built on the shoulders of those platforms and said, hey, I'm going to refine this and do something a little different, create the velvet rope. And, but you have to ask me if we can be friends, and I'm going to maybe not, I don't know, and blah, 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 blah. So on down the road. So video platform Theta, Theta, is the YouTube of blockchain technology. It's a decentralized video streaming platform on blockchain technology. Okay. And you can dive deep on Theta by going to thetatoken.org, Theta token.org. Okay. And you can read the white paper on that. This is the paper that they're using to get the VC money, the venture capital money that they're getting. They're explaining what the problem is, the problem that they're solving. Here's what our technology is doing. We're already doing this, blah, blah, blah. And you can really kind of read up on what these guys are up to. Okay. But when you talk about, if you've gotten your head around the fact that, and I hope that you have, for the love of all that is holy. Like, if you haven't figured out that you got to be creating traffic right now, okay, and you got to be getting subscribers, and you got to be putting out content. If you haven't figured that out yet,
welcome to the climb. I think you'll stick around. I think you'll like the show.
Go back about 250 episodes and just work your way up, okay? Right, yeah. But knowing that that's the truth, here's the way to protect all the traffic that you're going to create. Because once again, I think all too often artists are getting intoxicated with the distributor brand names and the distribution, right? Mm-hmm. Like Spotify. Now there's about 3 or 4 things that can be true at the same time here. Spotify is the industry benchmark, right? So if you're trying to prove to the industry that you're worth something or whatever, well, they're going to look at Spotify. They might not understand the value of Theta yet.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And now Theta is a video platform. So, they get YouTube, they don't get Theta yet. Right. I remember this with our artists when we were trying to get them qualified like 3 years ago, if you can imagine this, 3 years ago, trying to get them qualified for CMAs, right? So they can be qualified to play on a CMA stage. Mm-hmm. And at that time, just 3 years ago, the requirements to be on a CMA stage had some social media requirements, but it was all Facebook. Mm-hmm. There was no Instagram. Instagram 3 years ago was
Oh, there wasn't TikTok.
Wasn't factored in. Yeah, like, we don't care that you're a rock star on Instagram. You suck because you've only got 5,000 Facebook followers, but you've got 1 million Instagram followers. Like, not going to get on it, right? Like, so you see how this is new stuff. So you have to be well versed on this. But my point is,
gatekeepers, man.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not going to get. You're just not going to be. This is a new platform. It's going to come. Like, you got to be aware that Spotify is just not. It's a benchmark. It's good for this and this, but you're not getting discovered on it. You're really not.
Right.
Now you can make a lot of money on there. We talked about it a couple episodes ago. There's 13,400 artists that made 50 grand on streaming. And when I say Spotify, I mean Amazon and, all the streaming services combined. But so you can make money on there, but they're not getting discovered.
Right.
Okay. And so there's a difference there. But here, on this video platform, every single video view you get is yours. It is, there's a transactional history that anybody can look at and see. Okay. And now I'm going to go into why that's exciting here in a second.
Can they also see like everybody that's viewed that video then?
No, it's not transactional in the sense that I know what you did on it, right? But I do know that there was a view and that it happened. Now, the owner of that channel gets the information.
Okay, yeah.
So I can know that it's Brent, but in other words, it's transparent between the accuracy of the numbers and everything is transparent to the entire market. But the personal stuff, the names and stuff like that, that's going to be, the accounts are going to be transparent to the owner.
Okay, gotcha.
Right? If that makes sense. So, which is huge because
right
now
on YouTube, on Spotify, we take their numbers and go, all right.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Now, who are they?
Like Disney Plus numbers. Netflix numbers, they don't always release those numbers. You don't really know how many views they're getting, right? The
Yeah,
same thing.
exactly.
Spotify can jack with your views. YouTube can jack with your views. Like I can't really audit that, right? But with blockchain, you're supposed to be
Right.
able to have a more accurate
Right.
count that's visible. It's because it's decentralized.
Well, it's going to be a very accurate count. They can't deplatform you. They can't throttle your numbers up. They can't squash your numbers down. They can't take away subscribers or take away video views, which is happening to one of my artists now. So, there's no big brother, there's no middleman. And also, who it is that saw you. Now, right now, so listen, we're going baby steps. For years now, we have been talking about, radio plays. You get a number one hit. Great. Who heard it? I don't know. So if you spent that same money, doing digital marketing on Facebook, at least you have this category of people that watched your video from 25% or 50% or 75% or 100% of the way through. You don't know that it's Brent Baxter, from this place in this town and blah, blah, blah. But you do know that that is an account, and you can retarget that by, guess what, paying Facebook to use their data to go back through there, which is by far a monumentally more efficient way to build your audience than this. So this is great, but this is the next level, right? This is like, now you know who it is and you can reach out to them directly, okay? So Audius, Audius, is the Spotify of blockchain technology. Okay, this is a decentralized audio streaming platform on blockchain technology. They've got about 500,000 people on that platform right now. Okay, and you can visit them at audius.co, audius.co, and you can read about what they're doing and check it out. Okay, I encourage you to learn about these two companies. These might not be the brand names that make it through, man, that become the ubiquitous brand names, but they're on it right now. Okay, so now let's get into the 5 reasons why you're going to benefit from these platforms and what this means, okay? So, Brent, you touched on this before. Blockchain eliminates the middleman. It brings very little value, okay? Very little value. Spotify, what value does it really bring you? Spotify shares consumption information with the labels so that they know exactly how a single is performing. But if the second that Spotify says that this is, Johnny D from Nashville, Tennessee, and here's his email address, they become irrelevant because it's just an audio player.
Yeah.
Right? So check this out. The music industry generated $43 billion in revenue last year.
That's a lot of money.
And only 12% went to the artists.
That's not a lot of money. That's not a big percentage.
Let's repeat that, okay? The music industry generated $43 billion in revenue last year, and only 12% went to the artists, okay? Now, if you want a comparison on a different industry, because the artists generate the traffic that generates the revenue that generates $43 billion of revenue, right? It's the artists. Spotify doesn't generate that revenue.
No.
The labels don't necessarily generate that revenue. It's the artists that make the product that the labels are promoting, right? So by point of comparison, let's look at the NFL. Okay, so they create this wild entertainment with this whole season of football. It's exciting. Everything's going on. And they're selling tickets. They're selling concessions. They're selling ad time, ad space, and they're generating boatloads of revenue. Well, the players in the NFL get 47% of the revenue that's generated.
That's a big difference.
Big difference.
Big difference.
Right? Why? Because, man, I'm Aaron Rodgers, bro. I fill stadiums, right? Watch me work.
Well, it's a small enough universe, I guess, where the players can get together and say, we deserve a better share. Whereas music, you got all these artists who are not joiners, and how do they band together and do that? But this is removing some of that.
This is removing the middleman, right?
Yeah.
So imagine the NFL without owners. and everybody's on blockchain. I mean, the ramifications of this blow my mind. I mean, it's mostly the stuff I haven't thought of yet that freaks me out, on how cool this can be. So, so that can change, right? Because right now there's two levels of middlemen in the music industry, right? You've got the streaming services, and then you got the PROs, and they're all taking their cut.
Yep.
Right, and then they're all waffling on the deal too. ASCAP, 15%, and we collect all your money. Well, since I can't monitor every single freaking performance worldwide, that seems like a pretty good deal. Okay, I'll take that. Oh, and by the way, some of this revenue that you created over here is not going to be considered like revenue because it's not fair to everybody else. And so we're going to take some of that too, right? On top of 15% of the frickin' music industry.
Or as I ran into, you had a top 10 single in Texas on the Texas charts, but it didn't show up at all in any of our, what do they call it? When we went and surveyed, reporting stations here and there and just sample these smaller stations. You did well enough to get a top 10, but it didn't show up in our survey, so you get $0. I've had that.
So we're going to keep. It made money.
I'm like,
it made money.
I can show you
it goes
the
into this pool and you don't get it.
Yeah, I can show you the screenshot of the chart. Like, it got played. They're like, yeah, but it didn't show up in our sample, so we're not going to pay you for it because it never showed up.
See, BS, man. This is it. So this is the difference between broadcast and digital. This is what makes it so exciting. So, with that middleman, right? With that broadcast platform, artists have minimal control over how their music is distributed. Artists have little visibility into who's streaming it, who's watching it. Artists create the traffic. In the digital world, distribution doesn't matter. Distribution is where you go to consume something. Marketing is why you're going there to consume it. Okay? So there's no foot traffic on iTunes or Spotify, really, where you're just running along and, oh my God, look at that shop. Let's go in there. In Spotify, you do have a little bit of it because you can make a lot of money on streaming if you're on the right playlist. But they still don't know it's you. You're a ghost, right? And that's not a bad thing to make the money, but you're going to need a brand name to sell some tickets, man. So. Distribution doesn't matter on the digital platform because your content is accessible via any link. So as long as you have the demand, it doesn't matter. They're going to link to wherever you link it to, whether it's Spotify or your blockchain server, right? So, Audius and Theta create different token economies powered by platform tokens, third-party stable coins like Bitcoin, for instance, and Ethereum, and artist tokens, okay? And if this is above your pay grade right now in your head, you're having a hard time getting around this, I've got the perfect source to go and really deep dive on this. It's your kids. If your kids are gamers, they get this. They totally get it, okay? Again, my nephew is one of 10 million people who watched the Marshmallow live show with Fortnite. He purchased a skin for his character, which is the marshmallow face that he got to put on his Fortnite character with 5,000 Fortnite bucks, which is $20 of real hard American dollars. Okay? These little economies exist everywhere. Get on board. Get on board.
Okay, here's another one. Chuck E. Cheese. So you walk into Chuck E. Cheese and it takes tokens to play, or it takes tokens to play the games. What do? You put dollars, US dollars, if you're the US dollars, into the Chuck E. Cheese change thing, and they give you tokens. Now you can use those to play, but it's backed up by real dollars. Right? So that's kind of how those gamers are. Backed up by real dollars, but they're getting tokens they can play inside that world of Chuck E. Cheese. That may be stupid, but anyway.
There you go. Well, the only difference is like you can't just you can't cash out on your tokens, right? Basically, you buy the tokens, you got to spend them.
You got to spend them. Yeah, that's
you can. Yeah, you got to spend them.
I don't think so.
So this can go back and forth. But so again, two layers of middlemen, which not only diminishes payments to the artist, but guess what? Slows the payments to the artist. I mean, like Brent. You had a big hit with Monday Morning Church.
Yeah.
You wrote the song, Alan Jackson cut it, the record gets released. After the record gets released, how long until you got your first check?
Well, let's see. Okay, I think it was released as a single October of 2004. That was third quarter. So first money started showing up. So they could take to the end of the quarter. So it would have been a year in 2004. They gather up that money. They send it to, say, ASCAP. ASCAP processes that money through the first quarter. So that'd be 3/31. So March 31st of 2005. And then I maybe get my first check 45 days after, which be, what is that? Mid-May. May of 2015 for a spin that happened maybe mid-October. So about 6 months out, something like that.
Okay.
Now, same thing
There you
maybe
go.
for,
Right,
now you
now-
talk about mechanicals is another thing too. Mechanicals, they would pay.
They go down that road.
Yeah, so I can't remember when the album was released exactly. Let's say it was also released mid-October. So you get the sales from October through the end of the year, so the end of that quarter, end of 2004, and the record label. Let's see, they would have that money would go to them, or I'm not even sure how long it takes that money to get to the label from the store. But it's got to go through my admin people, and then they get 45 days. So probably about 6 months on that as well, actually. So yeah, like 6 months.
There you go. So it's slowing the commerce as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's slowing the commerce as well. So let's get into the part that's just this is going to blow your mind. Blow your mind because you haven't thought about all this stuff. Okay. But this stuff is real and it's already happening. Okay. Blockchain creates provenance.
Providence?
Provenance.
Provenance?
No, provenance. Yeah, provenance.
Okay.
Provenance is proof of ownership and proof of the history of ownership, the transactional history of a certain thing. This matters for so many freaking different reasons that I can't even think of right now. We're only going to talk about the stuff I can think of.
All right.
Okay? But first, let's talk about secondary markets. How many of you have purchased, in the past, a used book? I do it all the time on Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. Used CDs, albums, cassette tapes. You mentioned this a couple episodes ago, Brent. I can't remember what the timeline was, but you saying Garth Brooks was appropriately, in my opinion, kind of barking about secondary market sales. Like you go to a used CD store.
Mid 2000, like 2005, 2006, maybe something like that. Maybe even before then. But, maybe in the late 90s probably. But for a while, Garth was not a fan of used record stores, used CD music stores, or stores that had the used stuff in it that you could also buy. So you could go to Walmart and buy the Garth Brooks, collection at what, I don't know, $10 a pop at the time, maybe. Or you go to this used, CD warehouse, whatever, go through the used ones, find a decent fresh horses and buy it for like $5. Now, a lot of people got mad at Garth because they're like, oh, he's just greedy because I get to save some money on buying his record. He's already sold that record. He's being greedy. His thing was the writers are not getting paid on that second sale. My team, my writers are not getting, Kent Blaze is not getting paid. Pat Alger, Larry Bastian, Charlie Steffel, they're not getting paid when you buy that record. They deserve to be paid. You're buying their work. And so he was against the used record store thing.
Yeah. Now let's just take this is not a perfect corollary, but it is a corollary. You buy a brand new car. Mm-hmm. You got to pay sales tax on that car.
Yeah, you do.
Right? And then you drive the car off the lot and you keep that for a couple of years. And let's say you sell that car and somebody comes and buys your car, your used automobile. Mm-hmm. They got to pay sales tax on that too.
Just for the privilege of buying something.
For the privilege of buying something. But now that's a tax. But my point being that there's a secondary market for things of value. There's music has value. There's secondary market for music. Automobiles have value. There's a secondary market for automobiles. And it's not like you just get to buy a car for without having to, get a tag for it and pay taxes on it and blah, blah, blah. Right. So it's a loose corollary, but you get the point. So the idea is, the artists and the songwriters don't get paid on the secondary market. With blockchain, this changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
right? You'll get paid for every stream, every video, and even more for the comments and likes with engaged traffic. Okay. So currently, the streaming platforms operate much the same way that the PROs operate. All the revenue that's generated on subscription fees, that's generated on advertising, that's on the platform because they have what? Traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's important for advertisers. They want to advertise in front of these eyeballs for these artists because that demographic is the kind of crap that we're selling, and we want to advertise that to them. Then they pool all the traffic together and they create a pie chart and they pay out the artists according to which artists generate the most of the traffic, right?
Yeah.
Which of course that's going to favor the major label artists, the bigger brand names. But, what if you're an artist that has 1,000 people that subscribe to Spotify and mostly only listen to you and like a small handful of other indie artists?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in the current model, all that money goes to Lady Gaga, Tim McGraw, U2, Ed Sheeran,
Yeah.
etc. Even though they didn't generate that particular piece of traffic, you did, right? What if let's take it to another level. What if you're an artist that has 1,000 people who subscribe to Spotify solely for your music, right? That's $10,000 a month in subscription fees you're not seeing a penny of.
Mm-hmm.
And you may think, well, that's ridiculous, Johnny. Like, we're indie, we're smart. Well, man, there are plenty of indie artists right now with millions of subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
To their specific channel, right? And then I think about like those two dudes on the what is it, Midnight in Vegas dudes that they're on Patreon. They're like these like really super sharp two black guys, and they sit in front of two microphones with a camera on them, and they listen to music and they freak out on it.
Oh, that's right. You told me about them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just but they'll it's really, really cool when they get into music that they don't normally listen to, right? Mm-hmm. It's not their groove, man. And then what are they going to think about it? Like, I don't know why. I just find these guys incredibly entertaining. I pay them $1 a month. Mm-hmm. Patreon, it goes right to them. Now, Patreon takes a hit, but you see my point. There's the difference. So, all this changes when it gets on blockchain, right? So, what if you're an artist that, think now that's just for streaming. Think about the video content possibilities, mm-hmm. right? That we went down there. Like, you're welcome. Right? Because all that traffic is attributed solely to you. Now, imagine if artists created special content that was only released as NFT content. It has provenance. It can be sold, traded, and resold. Every transaction is accountable, and the artist continues to enjoy the revenue stream from every transaction that happens on blockchain. Okay, so stop thinking about yourself as an indie artist and start thinking about yourself as an artist with a decent following. I mean, with what I'm about to describe to you right here, any artist who's doing a side hustle with art while they're a teacher or a custodian or, they're selling whatever, insurance or whatever, man, can beat their revenue stream much quicker and much easier selling their art when it's going through blockchain, okay? Because of provenance, right? So let's break that down. So imagine sync revenue. Imagine revenue created from selling used movies and TV shows and DVDs, right? Mm-hmm. You're getting paid again because it's synced to that, okay?
Well, I wonder about that, like how that works, because we were talking about the GAR thing. I was like, well, that's kind of fizzled out because who buys UCDs anymore? They just stream it.
Well, so how long is that going to change? I mean, how long before? I mean, do you think that the record labels are going to, as this begins to develop and get refined, man, I think that the $10 a month for access to all the music the world ever made is going to go away. You can make it ownership again, right? Mm-hmm. And it might go away because they make it go away, and it might go away because it's just going to be cooler to have the provenance, right?
Yeah,
and I
would imagine there would be both.
So let's talk
like
about
there's
this
homeowners
now.
and there's renters. Exactly.
And listen, you're still generating money with streaming, but now you can generate the amount of revenue that each of your streams should create, right? Versus just getting screwed in the pool, so to speak. Okay.
Yeah.
So you could argue that Providence will ultimately eliminate all the PROs, as we talked about before, and the middleman. That just right off the bat increases every artist's revenue stream by at least 10 to 15%, not including the BS additional fees and crap that we talked about, that where they steal your money. Oh, well, because you didn't show up because we didn't talk to this one radio station that spun it, you don't get paid. But we got paid. We got paid for it.
Yeah, they
because
paid
we
their
talked to
license.
everybody. But yeah, or the Michael Ilsner with the network paid for the vocal bumpers on this show here a boatload of money, $100,000 for a primary vocal. But we decided that that's not going to be the rule, and we're going to distribute that money differently. And you just got to take it up to Keister. Screw that, right? So that's going to change a lot of things. But check this out. Provenance means you can prove you were the first or among the first to like your favorite artist. Mm-hmm. Imagine being able to prove that you were right all along about Nirvana. What does that do to excite the market of music lovers, right? Imagine proving that you were one of the first 10 people who purchased Nirvana's very first EP. Indie EP before they got their deal, but you saw the band, you're like, these guys, I love these guys. This is my jam. I love them. We just printed up 500 CDs. We got them back by the merch table. You're the first guy in line. You go and pay $10 for that. Well, but imagine it's an NFT.
It reminds me a little bit of like Kickstarter, right? Like you help fund this, you help us get off the ground, and you get, this is the bundle you get. Part of that is here's your NFT to prove that you were one of our Kickstarters kind of thing, right? That you were one of the people that got us off the ground. You were an early investor. And you can
you go. So, okay. So now, so take this. So it's a little cloudy, that example from where I'm headed with this, but you have ownership rights to that first EP right now. So think about it like this. And I don't know the answer to this, but just throw one example out there. What's like the most expensive, valuable baseball card ever?
I don't know. Something like a Mickey Mantle rookie or something.
Yeah, Mickey Mantle rookie card, right? But how many of them did they make?
Not a lot, because they were rookies. They didn't know who's going to pan out or not.
Right. So they didn't make a lot, but
it's been a long
you
time,
don't know. So let's go down a musician road for a second. Okay. By far, one of the most acclaimed, like super, super expensive vintage guitars is the 1959 gold top Les Paul. Mm-hmm. Now, what's the difference? And I'm pretty sure this is the difference between a Mickey Mantle rookie card and a gold top Les Paul from 1959.
What is the difference?
Yeah. There's a serial number, and there's a number, like you know which one was first, which one was second, which one was
with the
third.
guitar.
With the guitar. Okay. Yeah. So because there's only so many guitars, gold top 59 Les Pauls that they made in 1959, and for whatever reason, that's like the 64 Strat. Like it's just like that's the shit, right? Like that's the stuff that that's valuable because they only have so many of them. But man, if you got the first one or one of the first 10, that's more valuable. Right?
Yeah.
That's more valuable. So just, are you connecting the dots here? Like, imagine proving you're one of the first 10 people who purchased Nirvana's very first EP. You have ownership rights to that EP in a transparent ledger proving that you owned one of the first EPs that were minted. What would that particular EP / NFT tokens value be worth after Nevermind comes out?
Whatever somebody's willing to pay for it.
Right. But that would all of a sudden be a big deal, right? Mm-hmm. And then, so let's just talk about that in terms of social status for a fan. Remember, this is transparent. So I can go into a wallet that, all the wallets that are occupied with the Nirvana stuff, and I can click on the wallet of the first 10 EPs, and I can find your name, and I know you're Brent Baxter, and you own that. Mm-hmm. Right? And I'm like, dude, how much you want for that? Right? Okay, so, and by the way, social status, right? Like I own one of the first ones, like the fans, they dig that. How many fans get pissed off? My brother-in-law's like this. Like he loves a band when they first come out, and then the second that they get past the pioneer and the early adopter part of the law of diffusion and they hit the early majority and they become popular, he doesn't like them anymore.
Right, yeah.
Because it's not his anymore. Now it's everybody's. right?
Mm-hmm.
But this would keep it, this is your badge of honor, right?
Yeah.
So there's a social status with that that's very real. But let's talk about the monetary thing. I mean, again, imagine purchasing one of the first 10 Nirvana EPs that were minted in the form of an NFT from the original owner, knowing that you have proof that it was one of the first 10.
Yeah.
Right? There's value to that now because there's scarcity. Now, imagine being Nirvana and continually getting paid for all the secondary market activity for that first crappy EP that you put out. Dude, holy crap, right?
Yeah.
Imagine purchasing an NFT of an artist that was previously owned by someone famous.
Mm-hmm. Again, that goes back to the Elvis thing on the scroll going, wow, that's Elvis's name.
Exactly.
And my name
Imagine,
is on that same list.
imagine being able to buy, an NFT, a record of an artist that you know is previously owned by Elvis, and you can prove it, and everybody else can see it whenever they want, and it's like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
holy crap, that's amazing, right? So I mean, it's mind blowing what can happen here, right? Now, imagine purchasing the NFT of an artist that's previously owned by somebody famous, and what that does to the value of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like if it's one of 10 of the first Nirvana EPs, but this one was owned by Barack Obama or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody not even related to the music industry. Well, that's probably more valuable than the other 10, maybe, except for maybe the first one, right? Or the first issue Spider-Man, comic books, those things, they have lots of value and stuff because they're demarcated, right? So now imagine being the artist and getting, again, 10% of that transaction.
Mm-hmm.
In a secondary purchase or more. The next album comes out, you get even bigger. Now, that goes up and somebody sells it, somebody cashes out on it.
Yeah.
And as long as there's commerce happening, man, you're getting paid for it.
True.
Okay. Now, I was watching, in my deep dive on this, I'm watching some school teacher who's like, got to be a pretty like high level dude in terms of NFTs. For some reason, I don't know how he got Gary Vee on an interview, but he did. And you could tell by the dynamics of Gary Vee, like it was really cool that Gary Vee did it, but this wasn't like Gary Vee talking to
South by or
yeah, it's not like Gary Vee talking to somebody like with a big brand name. This guy doesn't have a brand name, right?
Yeah.
But he's obviously big enough to somehow, or he's got some kind of relationship with Gary Vee. Gary Vaynerchuk's on there. They're talking about NFTs. Okay, now this teacher that's interviewing him had just started creating NFT artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he admits like it totally sucks. Like it brings me joy and I do this. Now this guy is no Beeple. If you've heard about Beeple, is the artist who just sold a piece of artwork on NFT for $68 million.
Ooh.
Okay. Why? Because there's only one. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's only one. And so he's not this guy. He's new. He's unknown, just like you, right? And he had someone come up to him and offer to buy his first piece of NFT artwork. Why? Because it was his first.
Just because.
Let that sink in. Yeah. Like, so, let's say you're Lonely Highway, man. You got a crowd of 200 people that regularly come out and see you. And you do something like this, man, somebody's going to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's going to pay for that because they believe in you. You know what I mean? And they get bragging rights, Now, let's talk about remixes, covers, derivative content. That's largely squashed or censored by the big guys because of rights management issues. It's too much of a pain in the butt to get it all straightened out and to do the paperwork. Blockchain eliminates all that.
Nice.
You're going to get paid on it, right? Blockchain means meaningful art can be controlled. And number 3, blockchain means meaningful art can be controlled or released into the market. It can be controllably released into the market. This meaningful art can be monetized in real time with real transactional accuracy. And it's fast. You get paid right away for the traffic you create, as opposed to having to reach a certain level before you partake in the fruits of your labor, before you become a big enough piece of the pie where you're getting a piece of the pie. Other than that, you're getting some minimal pennies and dollars and,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be honest. They're paying, this amount of money per stream, 0.003 cents per stream on Spotify, but I'm pretty sure that the rights holders of a Taylor Swift song get paid more than that.
We don't know.
It's not equal to what you get paid. Well, they do. How can they not? Right?
Well,
If you
I
average
mean,
it out over per stream, they're getting a
yeah.
huge chunk of the subscription dollars and a huge chunk of the pool from the streaming ad revenue. And yeah, so they get paid way more than you get paid. Why? Because they got more traffic on that. But still, it's becoming the elephant in the room is look at how much traffic that these indie artists are bringing as a collective, right? It's a lot. So number 4, blockchain means, again, any teacher, any mechanic, any custodian can make more money doing their art than they would at their current given vocation if they want to, if they choose to do so. Because it's all transactional, it's all there. And finally, blockchain is a complete meritocracy. Okay, it can't be squashed by bigger players. If you're good, you're good. If you market yourself and you're good, you can make money, period. Nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can squash you. Nobody can sign you because you sound like Garth Brooks and we don't want you in the marketplace. So we're going to sign you because we're the same label that Garth Brooks is on and put you on the shelf to keep you out of the marketplace, right? Nobody can say it didn't happen, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, guys, that's all I wanted to say on that. I mean, we went long on this, but dang, this is so exciting. And I know it's nebulous to you guys. Like it's hard to get your head around. But listen, there's tons of video content out there on YouTube. If you spend 3 hours going down this rabbit hole, it will change your life. And you're going to be in the 1% of people who understand it, especially with artists. We still got artists trying to do radio. Man.
Yeah.
And they haven't figured out social media yet. And if you're on the blockchain, son,
That's right.
You're doing good. There you go. So, guys, listen, man, if you want some one-on-one with this, we are available for consultation. Shoot us an email at info@daredevilproduction.com. Production is singular. There is no S. Put consultation in the subject line, and we can talk about different strategies that will get you going on this and get you headed in the right direction so that you are open for business. You know, there's a lot of ways to make this money. Now, this is still in its infancy, guys. It's going to take a couple years to refine, but you don't want to be the person that's just figuring it out 2 years from now. You want to be figuring it out now so that as it starts to develop, so does your wallet, which is what they call it in blockchain, what they call it in NFTs. It's a wallet, you know? So there you go, guys. Well, this podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.